Welcome to the Deposit That podcast. I'm sitting here with a friend, Sue from Compass. Welcome to the show. Don't be nervous, and it's time to get the show on the road. Are you ready?
Excellent. Absolutely. Thank you for having me here.
So when you go on listing appointments, do you get nervous?
No, I'm more nervous sitting here right now
But why?
than I am. That's a great question because I think when I'm walking into a listing appointment, I'm walking in with a certain level of confidence. I know what I'm doing. I've been doing this for a long time, and I feel comfortable when I'm in front of somebody. I want to know how I can best help them, so I'm asking the questions.
So now it's
now
reverse
I'm,
roles.
You're right. Now I'm in the hot seat. This is a very
I'm on a
different
listing
feeling.
appointment, and you're the seller.
Yeah.
So when you first got into real estate, what do you think your mentality was to develop that confidence? Because obviously you're going into a career that you don't know anything about. So what was some of your strategy to really become an expert?
So I think I brought with me a certain level of experience having been a homeowner. So my husband and I lived in the city. We moved through 2 apartments. Each of them we renovated, made some modifications, then went out to Connecticut and found a home that, of course, was completely run down. I saw a vision for it. And that's where I think the spark really happened, is that I would walk into spaces and I would have an idea of what it could be. I would see its full potential. That may even be connected to when I was a New York City high school teacher.
Really?
Yeah, because I would see these kids and I'm like, oh my gosh, these are amazing young people.
So you were a teacher before?
I was right around the corner from
Wow.
here, actually.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's part of my background. So getting up and talking in front of people has never been something that would make me nervous. But I've always been on that.
You don't think I make you nervous, do you?
Well, I've got these headphones on. I've got a camera on me. I've got a microphone in front of me. It's intimidating.
All right, I get it.
It's intimidating.
Yeah, your comfort zone.
It's pushing me outside my comfort zone, which is something that I think everybody needs to do in life. Step a little bit outside of what makes you comfortable. And I do that with real estate. I definitely step outside of comfort zones. I'm also very attracted to representing properties that other agents want to pass on. They're like, oh no, that's unsellable. I'd written a chapter in a book.
You have a book?
No, it's a chapter in a book, and it
cool.
still hasn't been published yet,
Right.
so it's like I shouldn't even really be talking about it.
One day.
But what I loved about it was it really made me think about how I see things in a way that not everybody really does. Like I said, I see the potential. So when my students walked in the classroom, I was seeing their potential. I wasn't seeing their bad behavior. I wasn't seeing their poor manners. I wasn't seeing their foul language. I was seeing what they could become.
So would you say that's because you're an optimistic person, or you're blind to stuff that really shouldn't matter?
I don't know if I'm blind to anything,
Yeah.
because I also think that I see things from multiple perspectives, but I am an optimistic person without a doubt. And I'm not just a half full, I'm an overflowing. And I want to always be putting my energy and my strengths into the positive.
One expensive lesson I learned early on in life is I always hired people based on potential rather than results, right? Because I always saw something so much more in someone than what they actually were accomplishing. And I'm like, well, if I could take them in, I could mentor them or motivate them, and then I would either do such a good job that they would try and overthrow me because like they did it for the wrong reasons, or I'm like, you're like a wasted talent, right? And there's a movie called The Bronx Tale, and they say like the saddest thing in life is wasted talent. So I grew up watching that, like kind of living off that motto, if you will. But most people don't live up to their talent. So how have you been able to maneuver, if you will, with people that you see so much potential in and they don't see it in themselves?
Well, okay, so I want to always connect everything back to real estate because I live it, I breathe it.
Sure.
And it's easier when you're working with the potential of a property because it's something that can be physically
back to you.
created.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't talk back to you. It's not.
But coming from high school
But coming
education.
Yeah, well, I think everything that I've done, I've always said this, wherever you are in life is to bring you where you go next, right? So there's no bad place. Wherever you are, it's exactly where you're supposed to be. And so wherever I was, there was always something to learn, something to grow, something to apply to my next place in life. So I really do think that teaching and working with New York City's youth in a very strange way prepared me even more so for the life that I'm living now. And not just as a mother of teenagers, because I'm completely failing at that.
Failing. It's your first go around. First time.
That's what I tell my older son. Like, you're my practice. But so taking everything that I've learned from each of my past lives brings me to where I am now and seeing the potential either in a person. I mean, we always wish the best for everybody around us, especially those that we love. And so we want to draw out from them their their strengths and help them see it even when they're not seeing it.
How do you make somebody realize that, though? Truthfully.
Maybe holding up the mirror,
Serious.
and not literally, but figuratively.
Do you think it's the delivery on how you express it to them, or is it like more so showing them than telling them? What's your strategy on that?
No, I think showing rather than telling is everything. I think an insincere compliment is far more damaging than, I don't know what I'm comparing it to, but I think sincerity is where truth lies, and that's the most valuable, especially for young people, I think.
So you think education, your background in education, has made you successful in real estate directly?
I could make links. I mean, if we want to get philosophical,
Yeah,
I can make some links there. And I think
because
that
most
the way
realtors start in another career and then evolve into a realtor, which no one ever goes to school for to become a realtor, right? Or like grows up
I mean, I
wanting
could
to be a
take us
realtor.
onto a whole nother tangent here.
I want to hear it. Let's go.
And tell you that, I got
Take
into
it.
real estate to save my marriage.
Serious? Really?
I mean, in
I
a
want
way,
to hear it.
yes.
Let's go. What do you got?
Okay, I mean, that's a.
Let's go. Your husband said that you could say what I spoke to him earlier. He
Oh,
said
you got his
I
okay
did. I'm kidding.
and everything.
But
Yeah.
he will. We'll
I kind of want to come back to that, but because I wanted to answer your question about, the honesty that you have with when you want somebody to see their own full potential. I do that with houses and my clients as well. And whether they're a buyer or a seller, I'm walking in and I'm sharing with them exactly how I'm seeing it. So when I'm working with a seller, I remind them that I'm walking through houses every day with buyers. So I'm looking through their home through those eyes. And it's a lens that they don't have the advantage of seeing through because they're living in it. It's just
no
like,
experience.
right. And, when we walk through life or even like looking at your child, that's why everybody's taking those pictures of the first day of school and then they show the last day of school because you don't see that growth happening from moment to moment. But when you have the perspective of the beginning to the end, then you can see the difference. So when I'm walking through someone's home, I have that perspective. I have the ability to see what the end user is going to want. And at the same time, I see what they fell in love with as well when they originally bought the home. And so we try to breathe new life back into that home so that the next buyer coming has that same experience.
Are you spiritual?
I think I am.
I think I just felt that.
Yeah,
It's got a little-
Have
you always been that way?
Yeah, I've always described myself as not aligned with any particular religion, but certainly very spiritual.
Interesting.
And a deep faith in that.
So that's why real estate saved your marriage? Let's get into that. I'm more intrigued about that than anything else.
Well, I think that, every marriage has its challenges.
Every
and
relationship has
every
its-
relationship, you're absolutely right, has different curves and turns and obstacles, and you have to make the decision to love the ugly stuff. And this, again, I guess, goes back to what I was focusing on. So I was at a stage in my life where I was just focusing on all the stuff that I didn't like, and what you focus on grows. So that's what I was focusing on, the negative, and then that's all you can see. And then this opportunity came along to buy a property down the street from where I live.
In Connecticut?
In Connecticut. And I knew the market, I knew the street just from living there and always being very in tune with real estate. At that point, I think we had lived in 4 separate homes in Connecticut, and even in a declining market, we did work to each of the homes, improved the homes, and were able to make a profit. So it was something that I enjoyed doing but never thought of as a career until this one opportunity presented itself, and it was a foreclosure sale that happened literally on the sidewalk. My kids were... I've got to do the math.
What
here.
year is this? 2008?
Yeah, I'm not good with remembering the years, but if I remember the chronology, because my
What grade was my son in?
right, exactly. So they're 15 and 17 now. That was 10 years ago. So
Yeah,
they were
08,
5.
09.
They were they were. Yep, there you go. So here you are in really the depths of where
Sure.
our market was.
Bottom of the market.
Yep.
Connecticut got hit hard too.
Yeah, Connecticut did get hit hard, and certain towns worse than others. But we had this opportunity to participate in this foreclosure, and we didn't know anything about it. But we brought the kids, set them up with Legos on the sidewalk, and we were standing there, and there was a couple of investors, there was an agent with a client, and then just some random curious folks. And the bidding started, and I don't know, that just got me excited. I love the idea
Like
of an
a rush.
auction. You like,
Yeah.
it's a rush. You like raise it, you say your number.
Honey, you got the money?
Right? And like we had our idea of where we were going to max out,
Sure.
and we weren't going to go above a certain number. And the increments they started like $10,000 increments, and then they got smaller and smaller, and then people are dropping out. Now it's my husband and I like to be the one that talks and raises the card, which is probably why I'm here and he's not right now. But we had our number that we were going to, and we're still well under that number. And the people that we were going back and forth with, the increments got smaller and smaller, and they finally just dropped out. And they came up to us afterwards and they said, "You're going to be so happy in this home. We're investors. We realize that you've got your family here, and you're going to move into this neighborhood, and you probably would have bid, another $100,000 higher, and we didn't want to drive the price up for you. And we're so happy that you'll be a part of this community."
Just so you know, in New York City, that doesn't happen that way. Like when you lose a bid to somebody, you're like meet them outside. That's Connecticut.
You have a whole different conversation.
Yeah.
So I felt bad to tell them that, we're actually investors too. We just didn't know it yet.
I just brought my kids to fool you.
Right.
It's good strategy, though.
So we brought them
Bring
to
your kids to the auction.
Yeah, so every auction they show up now.
That's awesome.
I'm kind of kidding about that, but
No, that's okay. It's fine. I root for it.
Using my kids as pawns.
Yeah.
Again, remember
You got
I
to pay for
said
college one way, right?
it has to happen. That's actually our strategy. And my husband just left his career after 28 years with the same company.
Yeah, it's unheard of.
Unheard of. And
he's a loyal guy, though.
He is a loyal guy. I mean, listen, he's sticking around with me. So,
Sure.
And so having that experience, it created a multitude of positive journeys that we suddenly were forced to embark upon that we had no idea what was
Were
coming
you
next.
working at the time, like teaching or anything?
No.
Home with kids?
I'd always done things, right? So I was working with this fitness coach, and I was doing women empowerment workshops and teen empowerment workshops and using theater as a tool.
Okay.
And
Theater
and the
as
arts
like
as a tool.
Broadway and all that stuff?
No, theater, like we're going to sit and like write a monologue and then we'll
Okay.
speak it to each other. We'll do scene study but using it as just kind of a way to open a door to explore tough topics. And so we'd have a theme. Anyway, so I'd always been doing something. Like I'm not sitting around.
Right. You're not bored.
Just being, and I'm not, oh gosh, I have to be.
Stay-at-home mom?
It's not for me.
Yeah,
I have such tremendous respect. Like I grew up with a mother who cooked my breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We never had a can, a box, or processed food in the house. Like she was the perfect homemaker. She truly, truly was. And if Martha
Times
Stewart
have
was doing
changed,
it, she was
though.
doing. Yeah, times have changed, and that's not me. I could like creating a pretty
Have
space.
you always known that? Or did you try and do it and say, I've confirmed this isn't for me?
I think I thought I was supposed to do it. I
So
think
outside pressure.
Yeah, like that's just the role that you fall into.
Did your mother put pressure on you to do that?
No.
No?
She actually, encouraged me to be very independent, and I am. I'm an incredibly independent person, which brings me back to again why I got into real estate, because I wanted to know that I could stand on my own 2 feet. Because if that whole marriage thing didn't work out, I didn't want to be supported by my ex-husband if that's the path that we were going down. I wanted to know that I can stand on my own.
I respect that a lot.
Yeah, and I wanted my children to not think of me as somebody who's taking advantage of their father's hard work to support my lifestyle that I got really comfortable with. So I said, you know what, let's take this formula and apply it to something that can create a sustainable lifestyle. And I'm not a money-driven person, and I know that may sound crazy being in a sales industry.
Well, it's purpose.
I'm purpose-driven, and I also see my industry as a service industry as opposed to a sales
Which
industry.
everyone forgets, and that's why technology will never take over the industry.
It can't.
It
can't.
You need a
And
human
Compass
element.
realizes that.
Right.
My brokerage realizes that.
I think they do a great job of having that hybrid between the two. They have all the resources from a tech company, but they still have the good quality people that are producing actual business. So like when you take someone that's already on steroids and give them double the steroids, if you will, with technology being that double steroid, I mean, it's almost like a foolproof platform.
Well, I think it is a foolproof platform. Thank you for that tongue twister. And that's why they approached me and said, would you like to be the founding agent for your region in Connecticut? And I was with a firm that I never thought I would ever leave. And any working realtor gets approached by the other firms.
Everybody.
They're always trying to recruit. And I sat down with everyone. I'm like, okay, tell me how I'm going to better serve my clients. What are you going to share with me from your point of view that I could bring to my clients and say, this is better?
Now, do you think your mentality would be different if you didn't have a husband, that made a decent living to be able to support you and your career for going out in real estate and not operating on a level of desperation? Because I find that from doing this since I'm 20 and dealing with realtors in the Bronx and the worst desperate economy in the history of the United States, people always operated, and still to this day, operate on desperation and are transactional. So do you think that if you had to put food on the table, you wouldn't look at it as a service business and you would look at it as a transactional business?
I think because of who I am, I would say no, I would never be transactional and it would always be service-based because I've lived both ways.
Right.
Grew up on food stamps
Yeah.
and now I don't worry about eating. In fact, I don't know if I should even share this.
Share.
I just went, this is awful. I literally went this morning to a fitness club and they did this machine on me and I am officially clinically obese.
What?
And 41% of everything
Is that real?
you see in front of me
They said obese?
is pure blubber. It's 41% of all of this is fat.
Serious?
Yeah.
But you
No,
never
I'm
know.
like I'm clinically obese.
So you going back to the gym after this or no?
So you would think after I get this news that I jump on a piece of the equipment that's there. But after seeing like 3 or 4 people that I knew from my childhood,
Had to go.
I ran. I'm just like, I am so out of here. I'll come back when I lose some weight.
But how do you feel you feel good, right?
I feel relatively healthy, but I know that I'm heading in a direction that I can't sustain this. This is
Well, it's time. I mean, time's not an
it's time.
of our size.
And I thought I was doing all the things, the right things. Like I'm eating lots of fruits and vegetables and nuts, but apparently cucumber and eggplant it helps you retain water and bloats you. And I thought cucumber was like, it's crunchy. It's
So
fun,
I just did a
can eat it.
72-hour fast. I don't know if you saw my post.
Okay.
So literally at 1 a.m., like, what is that, 12 hours ago? Not even yet. I ate for the first time in 3 days.
Oh, that must have felt so
No
good.
food, no water. All I had was black coffee for 3 days straight to like, suppress the hunger.
Oh, that
And
sounds dangerous.
it was a little dangerous. And I was watching my son. He's running around. And I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna faint. Like if I faint, what's gonna happen? Like he can't take care of me, and I can't take care of him.
Yeah.
But it reset
But you
my
took
entire
that
body.
risk.
Yeah,
You're
I did.
like, we're still doing
I took
this.
the challenge on, and it was funny because the first 69 hours were like, okay, we got this. As soon as like there were 3 hours left, I heard the devil. The devil was like, go eat that food. Like get into the refrigerator. Like you made it 69. No one's gonna know. And I'm like, I just made it 69 hours. I can't cheat myself.
You can't.
But they say that once you do that 3 day fast, your whole body, your organs and everything resets and your brain reprograms. So I don't know.
So then you could start new patterns of behavior.
Exactly.
But see, I thought I was doing all the right things, right? So the fats that I were eating were very healthy fats. They came from avocado, cashews, almonds. And then who thought that cucumber was going to be a problem?
Right.
Cucumber, eggplant, tomatoes.
I think it's also based on your body type as well.
Yeah,
you know,
I
like
guess
we
it's
can eat the same
all
things
good.
or
And my age, because it all started going downhill at
you look
40.
great for 30.
Oh, see, I would never tell somebody that I'm younger than I am.
No?
Because then they look at you and they're like, oh, tough life, lived hard, But if I said that I was 60, right,
That
you'd be
makes
like,
sense.
damn,
You look good for 60.
nice. Like I want to be like
That's
you.
a good skill.
Right. So I don't, no shame with my
So
age.
are most of your friends also in good shape or has
Well, I surround myself by beautiful young millennials that
All
I
right.
have in this room with me, and
to mentor or to like live through them?
Oh no, it's total vicarious pleasure, like 100%.
Like who's slid into your DM?
Right, and whatever they could get that they
Yeah.
find valuable, have at it.
Interesting.
But no, I love being around young, beautiful people. I love it. You know what it really is like? It's another perspective that I'm too far removed from because of just, quite frankly, how many years I've lived. And having that fresh eyes on something, like I just like seeing things from multiple perspectives. This is another thing that I did when I was teaching. Like I started on first day of school, I emptied out the whole classroom. And the kids are coming in, they're like, miss, where should we sit? Where are we sitting? I'm like, I don't know, we're gonna have to figure that out together. And so they all come in and we're all just kind of standing and huddling and milling around and nobody knows quite what to do or quite where to go. And again, back to like getting
Teamwork.
outside of your
Yeah.
comfort zone. And so we together said, well, what does a learning environment look like? What should it look like? What should it feel
Now, where
like?
did you learn that from? Because obviously your average person isn't going to be that creative. I feel like
I have
people.
no idea.
Have you always been that way?
I've never, if somebody's doing it one way, I'm doing it another. And it's not.
Did you get into
because-
trouble when you were younger?
No, because I do it with a smile.
Oh, that's a blonde hair smile. Usually. I didn't have blonde hair.
No,
I
so
definitely
you
didn't
could've
smile
got
when I
away
did it. Yeah.
No, but I wasn't looking to make trouble. It just like, I don't know, it's the herd mentality. I guess when I was in college, that was reinforced as just not feeling like how I wanted
Where'd
to
you
live.
go to school?
I went to NYU.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, for my undergrad. And then I got my
For
master's.
education?
No, at that time I got my bachelor's in arts.
Oh, wow. So you
Yeah.
still have a passion for arts?
Yeah, I mean, I come from a creative family. There's definitely a creative genetic thing going on.
Mother and father are both creative, or?
So my father's an engineer, so he's a creative problem solver. I see that same kind of thinking in my son. My mother is very visually creative and also very intelligent. So it's like I do feel blessed coming from people that
You have good
are
genes.
a nice balance,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
So
You said earlier, and I'm a big advocate of this, so I read one day somewhere that real estate is vision, right? And that's all it was. And it's kind of like, I like one-liners, so I can kind of interpret it my own way, but sometimes I want more context, right? And then I'm thinking, I'm like, that's actually true. Real estate is vision. Like if you want to simplify into one sentence, how has that helped you succeed personally, having that vision for real estate, or turning that shack of a home into that, duplex, or turning that ranch into, the beautiful backyard with the fire pit? How do you actually define that?
well, it's interesting that you use that word because I used to call myself Susan Vanech, a vision for real estate. That was my tag.
I like that. Why'd you change it?
Well, because now I call myself Susan Vanech, a real estate strategist, where I personally invest in real estate and help other people do the same. And the reason why I shifted it was because I realized how strategic I am in how I look at things. So again, I guess it's the balance.
But doesn't strategy take vision, and vision take strategy?
Yes, they're interconnected and
Right.
they cannot be separated. And I think those with very strong visions.
SV, strategic vision.
Ooh, okay. I feel a new
Noted.
logo coming on.
Noted. I love your logo now. What do you
Deposit that.
We'll get to that. I think that's incredible, because I remember that when I first started in the business, there were only short sales, right? So this is December 2007 into, let's call it June of 2009. That's where I had my first 18-month run before I tried quitting and getting out, and I did, and I got pulled back in multiple times. But I only went out and marketed the FHA 203K loan program. Why? Because investors had no money, very few in the New York, New Jersey area. There was no inventory. Foreclosures and short sales were running crazy, and every home needed work. And if a home was sitting there vacant, someone would come in, steal the pipes, steal the copper, steal the refrigerator, and you'd walk into like this rundown. You're like, oh, my skin's crawling walking into this. But I learned that the consumer didn't have the vision to make that home their dream home, and they needed a fix and flipper to create the vision for them, and all they wanted to do was pick out like the countertop or the appliances.
Yeah, there's actually a medical term, and I'm going to learn it because I say this all the time, but there is a medical affliction or term that prevents the synapses in the brain to form a complete loop to imagine something. So if you've seen a piece of artwork on your table, and then somebody takes it away, you can revision it because you've already seen it. So
Right.
it's somewhere in your brain. But if I said to you on a blank table, envision this piece of artwork, for most people, they cannot.
Is that like a disease?
It's not. Well, if it were a disease,
Sounds-
everybody would feel like it was.
We need a cure.
The pharmaceutical companies would be making a killing. I think it's just the structure of our brains, and not everybody's got the ability where that.
So you're
those
not thinking outside
synapses-
the box, if you will.
Yeah, and if you haven't seen it, you can't pick it up and put it someplace else. Like it has to already somehow have an imprint in your brain in some place or spot for it to be put there. But you're absolutely right. Most of the buyers walking through cannot imagine what a blank canvas
At all.
would look like.
At all.
I actually don't work as well with blank canvases. I
Really?
work better with something inherent in the home that acts as a point of
Like
inspiration.
closed floor plan to open floor plan or something like that?
Yeah, I
or-
can take walls down in my mind. Like
Yeah.
I walk through everybody's house, I'm like, oh, that would look good if that were open. Or
Yeah.
a little privacy here, let's build a half one. Or let's do some kind of, screening here.
And you see that as you're walking through the
I
house.
cannot help it. I walk through a house. I literally redesign
it's a
houses
blessing
as
and
I
a
walk through it. It's not a curse. It really is a blessing. I love it. It's like it keeps my head going, and I do think that is what has given me an edge in real estate because so much of the population just physically cannot imagine. And we took great advantage of the unfortunate downturn in the real estate economy, because we were able to come into these homes that unfortunately many people lost as much as and I try to work with sellers as well that are pre-foreclosure. I had some that were like,
They're
we're
too
just going to
emotionally
let
attached.
it go. Well, there's emotion, and it feels like failure, right? It feels like.
It is a failure. It is, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a loss. Anyway, which
is.
way you want to do it, it's a loss, and it's definitely not something anyone should have to stomach.
Yeah, and so I try to comfort it as much as possible by guiding and advising ways to maybe avoid a foreclosure and opt for a short sale. So, and positioning the home in a way that it can appeal to a wider audience.
So that's why I believe that women in general should run the real estate and mortgage world. And it blows my mind. I'm actually trying to get them to do that more so if they learn to get the experience.
But I think women do dominate the industry.
In certain areas, right? But you still have that egotistical male, especially in the mortgage business, as you know, or probably know. And it's money, right? But the women have the empathetic side to come in and like, you know what? It's not about what commission I'm making. Yeah, it's great, but I'm here to really provide a service to help you and your family's well-being, you know?
Yeah, I don't know if it's a male-female thing. I mean, I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. I like to blur the lines as much as possible. So, yeah, I don't know if I think that it's that women are necessarily more empathetic, but it does help approaching real estate holistically and knowing the whole story. And I'm sure you've had many people say and heard many people say, and maybe yourself, you know, we're so intimately drawn into people's lives that
Everything.
we are wearing so many hats and we are playing so many roles. And so being a really good listener, asking the right questions, and then guiding towards the same, like we're all working towards the same goal.
And people tend to forget that though in transactions.
I think that is easy to happen, easy to forget.
Whether it's the attorney or the other
Well, the
agent
attorneys,
or-
I always say this. I'm like, listen, I got you this far. It goes to your attorney now in Connecticut. The attorneys do the closings.
And they're strict.
Yeah, well, there are rules that have to be followed. I get it. Same in, in the mortgage world, there are things that need to be done that are unavoidable. But I recommend attorneys, and one of the best compliments I give attorneys is that they're not ego-driven, they're solutions-driven. And if you're solutions-driven, then ego kind of
And it also
takes
comes
a
down to
backseat.
dealing with the right attorneys, though.
Right. Yeah. So I've got 3 that I recommend, and none of them are ego-driven, because I feel like that just puts everybody in jeopardy, really.
Yeah, we had one of my friends who runs a law firm in New Jersey and New York, and she's like, you're dealing with all these New York attorneys. Like, no, I'm closing Tuesday at 2 at my office. And she's like, no, well, the deal's closing in the Bronx on Wednesday at 4. And he's like, well, then you're charging a $300 travel fee. And it's like,
It turns into
I'm like,
nonsense.
can you guys just all shut up? Like, I'll kill a deal right now. I'll take you both off the deal, because people forget that there's a consumer at the end of the day that has kids, that has to move, that has to break a lease or get out of a lease, or they have to take off work, and they can't just say, you know what, I'm not working today. They have to put in notice. And I feel like a lot of service providers forget those important factors.
Yeah, and those are the human factors, which brings back right to what you said earlier, which is real estate will never lose the human factor. And you've got these tech-driven companies that are trying to eliminate the brokers, and it will never happen. It can't happen. And people, it will grow, and there's a place for it.
Sure.
I think there's a niche for that, but it's not for the people that we know and love.
Talk to me about, so Greenwich obviously has some expensive real estate where we had met at that one house. Talk to me about pricing in this type of market that we're in right now. How do you personally like to strategize pricing? And at what point do you have that come to terms agreement with a seller or potential buyer? Hey, buyer, if you want this, you have to come up, or a seller, hey, you have to come down.
Yeah, it's easy for me, and one of the tools that Compass offers makes it easy to have those hard conversations, and they are hard conversations. But
Alcohol?
Yeah, well, alcohol helps everything. In fact, where's my drink? That's what I'm missing.
We haven't started drinking yet. We will. It's still early.
It's a little
Coming
early.
off a cleanse. Give me 24 hours.
Right. Yeah, that could be a shocker to the body. But having those hard conversations, again, like they're coming to a broker for a level of professionalism and what we know about the market. And what Compass offers is a tool to help. And listen, access to information is easier than it's ever been.
And everything, yeah.
Compass puts it in a nice package so that you have access to the information that applies to your market. We could talk about Greenwich. We could talk about Fairfield, 2 completely different markets. We're 30 minutes away
So you're
from one another.
hyper-focused on that.
Well, there's micro markets.
Right.
So even in Greenwich, you've got the backcountry, which is where we were.
Sure.
Tougher sales right now there. We're seeing reductions in ways that we've never seen before.
Big reductions too, right?
Major reductions.
Life-changing reductions.
Life-changing reductions. And then you've got the turnkey little cutie pie that's, hop, skip, and a jump to
Booming.
the train station. Right, moving quickly. So knowing the micro markets and using a tool called Collections that Compass has, we're able to share with the homeowner, and we're looking at it together. And we look at the differences between the homes that have sold, the homes that haven't sold. We look at their home objectively. And it's my job to help them see it objectively because they've spent their lives in these homes.
And they're attached to it.
They're attached.
Do you think most people selling their once perfect dream home are still so emotionally attached to it, and that's why they price it higher than they should sometimes?
So it's interesting. Of late, because again, the consumers are getting smarter and smarter because of the access to information, I've been finding that my sellers are more realistic.
They are.
And I've had 2 people that said, I'm pricing, me, Susan, pricing it too high. Now, I'm all about, because again, I'm kind of driven, again, not to make money,
Sure.
but I like to be right.
It's a charity.
I like to be number one. So I like my homes to be priced very close to where they sell, because we don't want to waste anybody's time.
Right.
Time is the most valuable commodity that anybody has, and I have a deep respect for that. And so if my clients tell me, because I ask, what is your goal here? Do you want to move fast? Are you just testing the market? Do you want to see how much you can get, or do you want to, sell it fast at the
Actually
highest
sell.
possible price?
Right.
And so based on really what their bigger picture is, I'm asking questions about what their whole story is. We figure out the most strategic way to price the home. And, I renovate homes. That's a big part of my business, and one feeds into the other. And, I have my husband, who's one of my most challenging clients.
He's the number one employee. Most
That too
challenging
now.
client.
Yeah, that too now.
Where
He's
is
my
he?
most
You should have brought
challenging
him.
employee. We should call him in.
Is he sitting in the car? We should call him.
We should call him.
We could do that, actually.
Yeah. So I don't remember the train of thought that it was on there. Because
Renovations coming
Yeah.
in.
Oh, so I want to always price my properties that I own to move quickly, because that's my
Sure.
business model.
Sure.
To buy them, fix them.
In, renovate, out.
Right. With care and thoughtfulness and a level of quality that isn't typically seen, or the consumer doesn't necessarily expect in a flip
You
home.
stand by your work.
I stand by my work, and I'm still in touch with people that have bought my homes from years ago, mostly as a resource, as opposed to, hey,
Sure, sure.
toilet's not working.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right,
Fix
here's
this.
the
Yeah.
plumber.
Yeah. Sure.
So I like to think that I'm very aggressive in my pricing, and by aggressive, I mean I'm getting as low as I can go without feeling like I'm leaving a single penny on the table to move my product.
And people are open to that, even in the 2, 3, 4,
Again, it depends
5.
on what their goal is,
Right.
right? Most people want to sell their house for the absolute maximum amount that they're capable of selling it for. That's my job, to get them the absolute highest price and sell it as quickly as possible. That's 99% of my clients' goal. Move it fast, move it high.
You said people like to test the market. Do
There
you
are some
recommend
people out
that
there.
or no?
No, because it can stigmatize your property, and now everybody can follow the history. So I don't recommend it. If you're serious about selling your home, then be serious about selling your home. If you're just curious, then I'll come in and I'll do a market analysis for you. I'll come in and do one of those like love it or list it.
Sure.
I'll tell you what your home is worth as is. I'll tell you what your home is with doing some improvements. We have another program called Compass Concierge, where Compass will pay the upfront costs to do improvements on your home to ready it for sale. And we're finding, we're going to be putting together a book of the statistics, but anecdotally, homes are selling at a higher price than they would have been even listed for when the concierge program is put into place.
I agree.
So,
I agree.
and like you said,
Little things.
the buyer can't walk through
Yeah.
and envision this gutted
Right.
foreclosure property, but
Pink,
now
pink
let's
bathroom.
paint it.
It's like, all right,
Right.
get over it. You can paint it.
Right, and even that people can't always visualize. So from deep cleanings to full house paintings to renovations, I'm partnering with a company right now that is a home automation, security, and sustainability company. And Compass is fronting very high costs to put these systems in place, because I believe that I will be able to sell the property at a higher price with all of these sexy features
That's
in
pretty
the
cool.
home.
Do you think that's the future, like implementing technology into the home first and then selling it?
I don't know about the first part, but I think it will become an expectation. So my goal is to have every home that I personally represent, not just own, but that I personally represent, have a certain level of home automation and security and safety features in the house. And that just becomes like a Susan Vanech property standard.
Sure.
Right? So anybody that looks at my site, they're like, oh, well, we know that all of these
Susan's
homes.
safe.
It's Susan's safe.
Yeah.
Deposit that. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that.
Keep going. Yeah. Let it flow. What would you say are the 2 biggest challenges of raising kids at the age that they're at right now?
Holy cow. Okay, so.
We're going deep here.
Yeah, well, I've got the answer to
You
that.
better finish with deposit that. So what do you got?
So when I was a high school teacher, I said to myself, I cannot wait until my children, which I didn't have yet,
Or out of the house.
no, are high school age.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to be the coolest mom. I'm going to be able to relate to them. I'm going to ask them, the hard questions, and we're going to sit down and have those tough conversations, and they're going to come to me for advice, and I had all these visions of what an awesome mother of teenagers I would be.
And what's reality?
Holy cow. I don't even think they like me. I don't even think they want me in the room with them.
Really?
No, it's just, they're such amazing human beings. And I am always seeing their fullest potential. And I think they just want to be left alone a little bit more. Like, all right, Mom, I get it. Back off.
Now, are they closer with your husband?
No, I'd say we're each close in our own ways. I couldn't live without them. I can't. I could definitely go a couple of days without them.
A little break.
Like they go camping with my husband every year, and I'm like, this is awesome. My house
Can
is
you do it
clean.
again?
There aren't 75 random socks laying all over the house. Like there's like it's their own personal GPS is their tracking of their clothing.
Leaving you clues.
Yeah, they leave me clues, but. Anyway, it's just hard because I really thought that's the hardest part is that I had this conception of myself, or is that the right word? Conception,
yeah.
perception
Sure.
of who I was going to be as a mother, and all of my fears and all of my insecurities are, I think, on the surface. And that cool mom
Hasn't come out yet?
I haven't found her yet.
It's all right.
I don't think my kids have found her yet either. I keep telling them that.
But do you feel like
she's
you
there.
set yourself up for that by having unknown expectations? I mean, it sounds like you kind of put pressure on yourself when you didn't have to, or set like a bar so high, which I respect because that comes from a competition with inside yourself to be great, be number one, like you said earlier.
Yeah, I was just going to be the coolest
number
mom
one
on
mom.
the planet,
Yeah.
right? And I've utterly failed.
So when you say you failed, give me some examples of how you can back that
Well,
up.
okay, so I could blame this on real estate, even though real estate saved my marriage. Because I started working full time, it took so much of my time, effort, and energy, and I literally do live, breathe, sleep,
You have to if
dream.
you want to be
I'm
successful.
dreaming about clients. I am walking through houses. I'm solving
Clients or
problems.
their homes?
Both,
Uh-oh.
depending on whether I haven't had any really good ones like that yet, but
Your husband?
it's okay. He's like, as long as I don't have to deal
That's
with it.
it.
But no, I'm so all consumed with it, and both of my boys, because this I did right. We are very honest with each other, and they have said to me that they feel that I think work is more important than them.
That hit home. I had to have.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that hit home. I still feel it just repeating those words because you can't take time back.
At all.
You can't take time back. So that's part of why I've grown a team. It's part of why I'm learning how to, and I am working with younger, newer agents that don't have the same experience that I have, even though I've been advised to take on people that are going to produce me money, bring me more income, and
Yeah,
I'm not.
That'll always be like
again,
the magic question, I think, in real estate and mortgages. Obviously, I relate to it on both sides, more so on the mortgage side. But I feel like it's very hard for someone like yourself, and we're very similar in the sense that when you bring people on board, you hold them almost to the same expectations that you hold yourself to. So if you're like, hey, I emailed you 43 minutes ago and I see you're posting on Instagram, but you're not replying to my email, like, where are your priorities? At least post on Instagram and reply to the email simultaneously. And I know that when I tried bringing in those people that I know that could be very successful, 6+ figure year income in the business, they're not doing that. It kind of discourages you. And then at the end of the day, you're like, you know what, I'll just do it myself. And then you just do it yourself anyway. So you're creating double the work.
Exactly. And so I'm still at the beginning stages. I'm trying to figure out the right way to balance the roles and responsibilities within my group. Mm-hmm. And there's certain things that are down to a system now, and I think systems help and having things in place. But as a creative person, like I can respect systems, mm-hmm. but I don't know if I'm really good at always implementing them.
Me either.
Because I'm not organized in that way.
My
brain's going 100 different directions. What I really need is just somebody to like literally stand by my side the entire time, take everything that I've said, document it, organize it, filter it out, put it into like sections and subsections, and then we could revisit it together. And but I'm hearing what you're saying. Yes.
I'm with you. I mean, I can tell you for a fact that my whole 20s was what you just said, and all I did was focus on work. But I also went out there with a hope and an idea to make a name for myself. And then once I made the name for myself, I had to maintain the name for myself
Right.
in my 20s, early 20s.
Yeah,
so
that's young for all of
I'm
that.
20, 21, 22 years old doing, tens of millions of dollars a year in the mortgage business when, I'm like, well, I should be like out like partying in the city.
Right.
And I did that occasionally, but I always got drawn back to work because I'm like, I earned it, now I have to keep it, right?
Yeah, and you want to maintain.
You have to.
Right, you have to.
You feel like you let people
and
down.
You have to grow, and that is not okay. Like, I don't want to let anybody down.
Right.
Literally ever.
Right.
So
On both sides, the family side, the relationship side, and also the business side.
yeah, so finding that balance is challenging. It's funny because I mentioned to you that I used to do these women empowerment groups, and one of the sessions that was a main focus was finding that balance. And this is kind of like going back to how I failed as a mom. I was
TBD.
Like, I can't.
TBD.
Well, right.
We'll find out.
Right,
Yeah.
we'll come back in 10 years, see how they're really doing. Because it's one thing to be able to see, and this is again why I like hanging out with and surrounding myself with people from all different backgrounds, all different ages, all different
Sure.
strengths and talents and abilities, because there's so much to learn. And when you see things from an outside perspective looking in, like I tell my husband all the time what he's doing wrong parenting, because it's so easy to see. It's just so obvious how he's just like
Does
totally
he give it back to you, or he
screwing
just
things
takes it? He takes it.
Well, he's like, well, what about you? I'm like, this conversation isn't about me right now, honey. Like, we're not
Oh my
talking
God.
about me.
I would love to be a fly on your wall
No, it'd
when
be
you're
scary.
talking to him.
I don't know, the flies would just drop. It was scary. No, he's an incredibly tolerant human being.
A lot of patience.
Yes, a lot of patience and tolerance. He taught me how to ski, which wasn't an easy feat. And then I watched him teach my kids how to ski. And his level of patience and lacking frustration. So I get frustrated when somebody's not, because I do have this expectation
Sure.
that why aren't they just doing it like I would do
100
it?
miles an hour.
Right, 100 miles an hour, juggling 10 different
Yep,
balls,
yep.
going in 3 different directions, and like, why aren't they doing it like that?
Part of this fast I did, it says that it's supposed to really slow down your brain activity. So people like us, we move that way because our brains are hyperactive. And we can't calm the brain down. We can't slow the brain down. So that part of the reason why I did this was to do that. And I came in earlier
It's like
today.
a forced shut off.
When I tell you for a fact, like I'm super aware, I'm very self-aware, but I'm very, very aware of my surroundings. And even getting off the train this morning, coming here, everything was moving in slow motion and I was moving faster, but mentally it was like crystal clear. It was crazy.
That's
because
wild.
usually you're like, oh, I'm on the left, I'm on the right. Oh, there's a car coming. Oh, wait, there's a bus coming from this way. Oh, wait, there's a homeless guy who might try to rob me behind me. And I literally walked here in a regular pace while everything else slowed down.
That's wild.
First time in my life that's ever happened, but they said it's directly related to your brain activity, and that's why you have to keep the wheel spinning, if you will.
Yeah, I went to Bermuda a couple of weeks ago, and it was the second time in 17 years that my husband and I were away without the kids.
Oh, nice.
On a vacation.
Did you want to kill him by the end of the trip?
No, it was
No.
It was like I was able to tolerate him, and he was able to tolerate me.
Tons of alcohol.
In fact, not as much as I
Oh my
even
gosh.
think necessary. But there was something about I made a promise to myself that I was not going to be in my phone. And I told all of my clients in advance that I was going away and I would check my phone twice a day. And I'd never done that before because I never felt that I deserved it. Maybe I never felt that it was the right thing to do, but I just did it and I knew it needed to happen and I did it. And so I kind of had a similar experience where I felt still for the first time.
It's a great feeling.
And there were no distractions because it was a beach and it was the most beautiful sand I've ever had my feet in my entire life. And I want to go back. In fact, I want to go back every couple of months to just
Decompress.
shut off. I'll try the fast. Cheaper than going to Bermuda. I'm guessing.
You and your husband can do it
But
together.
I don't drink coffee. Can you do it without coffee?
I mean, I'm sure you can, but you can't have tea. There's specific instructions, only black coffee. I think it's like some type of like purity in it. I don't know.
Okay.
But
I've never had a cup of coffee in my life.
serious, I've never smoked a cigarette ever once in my life. I'm like the only person I know that's never smoked a cigarette.
I think you're the only person.
Yeah, not even
that I
drunk,
know.
nothing. Like even in high school, college, I'm like, I hate the smell so much. People ask me to hold it, I would have to throw it down.
That's how I feel about coffee.
Wow.
Yeah.
You ever gonna try it?
I don't see a reason to because I think like why get addicted to something
If you don't need to.
if you don't need to. I don't know. I don't want to introduce something that I don't think is a good
You
thing.
might get hooked on it.
Yeah. I think I'm probably I'm a 100%er, right?
Yeah,
I don't do
all or nothing.
anything, right? So if I'm doing it, I'm doing it. I'm like, I'm not going to do that. So
Interesting. So as we close up the show, we leave everyone to take one thing. You've had 2 deposits that so far. What's your main thing you want people to leave with that they could implement into either their personal and business life or both that they could deposit to their memory bank?
holy cow! You should have told me that I was going
No,
to have to
it's
come up with something brilliant.
Here's
on
the floor.
spot.
Here you go.
Oh geez. Okay. And
I'll give you an example. I want to list my house for $4 million, but I owe $5 million on it. I told you that at the end of your listing presentation. So you got to work on the fly.
right. Okay. Find a trusted advisor, and don't try to be the professional in something that you're not. So, like, my sister self-diagnoses all the time because she goes onto WebMD.
Uh-oh.
Right? Like, leave it to the professionals.
Kill your Wi-Fi. Get rid of Wi-Fi.
No, I mean, I think it's surround yourself with the right team. Surround yourself with the right team of people. So if you have a goal in real estate, surround yourself with the right team. Get your trusted financial advisor, get your trusted real estate advisor, get your trusted attorney in place, and know that it is a team effort, and introduce them all to one another. There's no transaction.
People like keeping people's secrets for some reason.
No, it's not. Full collaboration. So think of your real estate transaction as a group effort.
Well, that's awesome. And just let everyone know what type of real estate and where do you specialize in if they want to contact you.
So I'm a real estate strategist in Fairfield County, Connecticut, and I'm easy to find on social media. It's my name, Susan Vanech.
And you deal with buyers and sellers.
Buyers and sellers and investors.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a pleasure having you on the show.
Oh
Can't
my
wait to
gosh,
have
this was
your
so much
husband
fun.
next. Are you sweating still or no? You're
No,
done?
I think I'm okay.
All right.
I mean, I might be just because,
We'll get you back for round 2.
I have my own internal climate control issues.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been a
My
pleasure.
pleasure. Thanks for having me.